Hi, Dr. Debbie here. So I did a really short video the other day, and it was, what's the ROI on your questions? And I was getting a few comments about it, so I wanted to just share a little bit more, go into a little bit more detail, because I have a feeling this may be something you're struggling with too. Anyway, hi, it's Dr. Debbie from the PBT Institute, Post-Betrayal Transformation Institute, where we help people heal physically, mentally, and emotionally from the betrayal of a family member, partner, friend, coworker, and self. So I had this one member, and we were working together, and she's struggling to heal from a betrayal. And of course, it was devastating and shocking, and she's so hurt, and she's so upset, and going over and over and over these questions. And I asked her, well, how many times do you think you asked yourself, why did this happen? 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000? And she was thinking about it. And I asked her, did you come up with anything differently now compared to, the first few thousand times you asked yourself that question? And she was a little puzzled because she just really was desperate to understand why. Now, here's the thing. How can we possibly understand why someone does what they do? I mean, we can guess, right? But unless we are in their shoes, unless we are living their exact life and their experiences, we can't understand. Because we just because we wouldn't do something, just because it's not in our realm of consciousness to act in a certain way, we assume everybody else is sort of abiding by those rules. That's why betrayal is so shocking, because here we were going along with the spoken or unspoken rules of that relationship, and then without our awareness or consent, someone just decides to break those rules, and it's completely shocking. So she realized that she didn't come out with any more any understanding any greater than she had come out of it the first bunch of times she was looking at the why. And why now we have to do this in the beginning. It's part of we want to find some meaning, right? We want to make sense, and then we want to make meaning out of our experience. But what happens is, at some point, it really starts doing more harm than good. And what I share within the PBT Institute is, I say there's one thing about ruminating, where you are trying to come up with answers and meaning, and then there's marinating, and then you're not coming out of it any better than the bunch of times you went down that same road before. So she's in the financial world. So I thought, oh, you know what? I'm gonna get to her this way, that whole left-brained logical way of thinking. And I said, okay, well, what's the ROI on that question? Why? And she thought about it, and the answer was zero. And I said, okay, so now imagine you only have 100%. Best case scenario, you have 100% of your energy. How much of that energy do you think is being devoted to understanding why he did what he did? 10, 20, 30, 40%, right? And she was really thinking about, the entirety of her day. And throughout her day, how many times would her mind go back to thinking about it, trying to find out why? And we came up with a number of 40. 40%, 40%. So now think about it. If you have best case scenario 100%, and now you're devoting 40% of that to why, you only have 60% to deal with everything else, right? So, then I said, okay, and I know nothing about finances. I was like, what's the yield, on that? What's the return? What are you getting here? And what she realized is, she's doing no more than completely depleting herself, exhausting herself, trying to come up with an answer that probably she will never come up with. So the idea isn't this isn't that you're not supposed to think about it. Of course you are, but you want to harness some of that energy back, because you want to do something with it to heal you. So I said to her, okay, well, what would happen if you took, leave 30? And what if you took 10% of that to use for something else? What could you use that 10% for? Maybe self-care, maybe understanding or learning what you need now, doing something differently. The more energy, effort, time we spend on why something happened, the less resources we have to do something good with it. Because think about it. What would happen if she took that 40% she was spending on the why and she turned it towards self-care, healing? That's one of the biggest differences. And I talk a lot about the 5 stages from betrayal to breakthrough. And I did this in another recent video, the 5 stages. One of the classic signs to stage 3 is survival. It's all about survival, and it's very action oriented. How do I survive this experience? Where do I go? Who can I trust? Where do I live? How do I feed my kids? Right? Very practical. And one of the things we see when someone's moving from stage 3 to stage 4, a bunch of things you need to do. But when you move from stage 3 to stage 4, is it's still very action oriented. But this time, the actions aren't about how will I survive? Who can I trust? Who can I speak with? It's action oriented towards healing. What do I need to do to heal? What if I try this? What about that modality? What about if I speak to this person? So it's still very action oriented, but the action has shifted from the survival to action to help us heal. So it's sort of the same thing where we're taking all of that energy of why to how do we take that same energy and use it towards us? When it comes to healing, there's so much involved. And first of all, I can promise you, if we've all heard that saying, time heals all wounds. I have the proof. When it comes to betrayal, that's simply not true. We've had at this point probably about 50,000 people who've taken our post-betrayal syndrome quiz on our site to see to what extent someone's struggling. And it's really interesting because there's a question that says, is there anything else you'd like to share? And people write things like, my betrayal happened 40 years ago, and I can still feel the hate. My betrayal happened 35 years ago. I'm unwilling to trust again. My betrayal happened 10 years ago. Feels like it happened yesterday. So we know betrayal is a very unique type of trauma that needs a specific protocol to heal. And healing, happens within those 5 stages. You don't skip a stage. The stages don't switch order, and it all needs to be healed physically, mentally, and emotionally. We're taking on the topic of trust, and it's huge. And if trust has been shattered, and if you've had trust shattered, it affects everything. It affects everything because think about it. Now you don't trust the person you trusted the most. You don't trust yourself because you're thinking, well, I'm a bright person. Where was I? How did I not see? How did I not know? And then you reason, well, if I can't trust the person I trusted the most and I don't trust myself, well, how in the world can I trust anything or anyone? So it affects everything. We're taking it all on in the Trust Again Intensive. Now, this is going to be, I think it's the 5th or 6th time that I've done this intensive. And we've had some of the same people come back. Have you ever read a book and you read it when you're at, one level, and then you can read the same book a year later. And because you're so different, you get so much, it's like a whole different book, a whole new book. So we have people who've done this intensive a few times, but we're bringing it back and it's going to be 5 days where we are just taking on the topic of trust. So you can learn to feel safe again, love again, trust again. So to register for that, it's the PBT, as in post-betrayal transformation, thepbtinstitute.com/trust-intensive. So join us for that. You're going to love it. I mean, we are learning we're doing the 4-step trust rebuilding process, how to know if it's safe and in your best interest to rebuild yourself and move on, or if the situation lends itself, if you're willing, if you want to rebuild yourself and rebuild the relationship with the person who hurt you. It will be crystal clear, along with so much more. But for now, what I really wanted to share was really just talk about what's the ROI on those questions. And how often and how many times have you asked yourself why? And it really may serve to take that same energy, that same intensity, and everything you're using that's been depleting you, making you sick, getting you, keeping you sad, keeping you stuck. If you turn that towards healing, towards a different set of questions, what would that lead to? I picture this rocket ship where we're letting 40% of the fuel just right out of the rocket ship. Well, what would happen if you harness that back? That rocket ship would take off. That's what we see every day within the Institute. That's what happens when you're in that stage 2, stage 3. You're asking yourself a different set of questions, doing some different things. It moves you predictably to stage, if you were in stage 2, to stage 3, to stage 4, 5, and beyond, which is really exciting. So join us for the intensive if it's a fit. Again, thepbtinstitute.com/trust-intensive. I'll see you there. And I'm coming back to you soon with another video all about healing physically, mentally, and emotionally from betrayal. I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.